Great. Thanks, Chelsea. Um, Hello. So today I'll be talking about the Siddhi community and their relationship with the Hornbills in the Western Ghats of India. Next, please. Indigenous communities globally have known to inhabit areas with some of the largest remaining biodiversity on the planet. In some parts of the world, they are also actively engaged as partners in biodiversity conservation. They harbor traditional knowledge that has been passed over generations. The United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity has called for recognition, protection, and utilization of this traditional ecological knowledge. It has been observed that systematic observations of nature are the basis of both traditional as well as scientific knowledge. Interestingly, this has been tested in developed nations, but not much so in developing nations, where most of the threatened biodiversity survives alongside indigenous people. Historical ecological methods combined with biological tools can form a great platform for management practices of endangered species conservation as well as ecosystem management, which take into consideration the needs of indigenous people. Through such studies, global biodiversity issues can be dealt under one roof by preserving native knowledge within traditional communities. So I undertook this study in this landscape of our Western Ghats. Next, please. Next. The Western Ghats of India is a biodiversity hotspot and it is aged older than the Himalayan mountain ranges. It harbors a large number of globally threatened species. Many agrarian and hunter tribes reside here to this day and continue to depend on the forest and rivers for their livelihoods. My study is focused on in the central Western Ghats region, which harbors rich biodiversity, and about 50 tribes live here to this day, depending on the forests and rivers for their livelihood. This region is undergoing rapid habitat changes due to extensive developmental projects and is most understudied. As you see, the map shows the Western Ghat mountain ranges of India, and my study site here lies in the North Karnataka region. Two villages inhabiting Siddhi people were chosen as for focus group discussions and questionnaire surveys. Both villages very remotely located in the heart of the mountains and very remotely accessible by road. These forests are the last remaining evergreen tropical forest patches of the Western Ghats. Next. The Siddhi tribe, who have been in the region for around 400 years, are the Indo-African tribal community that descended from the Bantu people of Africa. They were brought in as slaves to India 400 years ago by the Portuguese. Since then, they have worshipped, observed, harvested, and preserved nature over centuries and passed down oral information from generation to generation. They are a marginalized community and are often ignored by other communities due to their color and race. The Siddhi language has now thought to be extinct by the People's Linguistic Survey of India, implying it is not spoken by the community anymore, leading to the loss of traditional knowledge transfer. They now speak a dialect of Konkani, which is unique to their tribe, and a dialect of Kannada, which is the state language. In the past, they used to hunt mammals, birds, and reptiles, several endemic and threatened species to India, such as the Indian spotted show train, the giant squirrel, the monitor lizard, and the hornbills, amongst others. The practices have now greatly declined on account of strict law enforcement, but I have observed that several of these hunting practices were culturally associated with traditional practices, whereas other with their nutritional meat requirement. Thus, on occasions, the hunting practices still continue. Next. Let me introduce you to the seed dispersers. The great hornbill is the the biggest bird in the landscape, and it is evaluated as vulnerable by the IUCN Red List of Threatened Species. The Malabar pied hornbill, whereas, is near threatened, and the Malabar grey hornbill is vulnerable to extinction. Both the Malabar pied and the Malabar grey hornbill are endemic to the Western Ghats of India. All the three species are found in the study area, but their populations are declining rapidly due to loss of old-growth trees, habitat modification, and hunting. There is an urgent need to undertake a study to understand the ethno-ecological knowledge of these species and the relationship with the community there. Hornbills are large-bodied seed dispersers and act as farmers of the forest. They play a major role in reviving the forest and are the only dispersing agents for some of the most endangered plant species in the Western Ghats, such as the myristica, which is the wild nutmeg. Next. On realizing an urgent need to address the issue through direct involvement of the community, I wanted to undertake this study to understand the interrelatedness between the farmers of the forest, that is the hornbills, and the Siddhi community, and to document the ethno-ecological knowledge for effective conservation measures. This project will act as a baseline to understand the hornbill species status in a forest, and also attempts to implement a community-based conservation model in a tribal village in Central Western Ghats region, in turn preserving ecological knowledge. Next. So, cultural and linguistic salience, traditional ecological knowledge were all documented through focus group discussions and open-ended questionnaire surveys in 8 households in 2 villages. This was a preliminary study that was carried out, which would form basis of a long-term project. Next. Some interesting linguistic salience of these bird names I would like to share with you all. In Hinduism, Garuda is a divine eagle-like sunbird and the king of birds. He is described to be the vehicle mount of the Hindu god Vishnu. He is always seen consuming a snake. So when I asked the community why the great hornbill was called Garuda, they said that the name was coined by their ancestors who had seen a great hornbill feeding on snakes, specifically an Indian cobra. The nomenclature is uniquely depicts the feeding behavior of the hornbill, which is largely considered as a frugivore. And there are very few anecdotal records of the cobra being consumed by hornbills. So this is an interesting fact where we see that the regional names play an important role in understanding how they are coined, in understanding the behavior of the bird. The Malabar grey hornbill, which is called the Halgaska in Kannada by the Siddhis, and the Sanvairya in Konkani, meaning the small hornbill. The Malabar grey hornbill is known for its human-like laughter call, and the Siddhis aptly call it Halgaska, meaning the teeth-showing bird, which again depicts the behavior based on its call. The Malabar pied hornbill is aptly known as the Ubal Hakki, meaning that the bird flings the fruit in the air before consuming it. Next. The hornbill is very well known in its scientific literature for its unique behaviors, way different than all the other birds. Let me share with you some of the findings of the ethnoecology of the hornbills. The Siddhi tribe can identify these birds by calls, the color of the beak, the size when in flight, and by the nesting trees they use. The hornbill in the scientific literature is known for sealing its female inside a tree cavity and feeding her throughout the incubation period. But the Siddhis believe otherwise. They strongly believe that once the female is done laying eggs, she seals the male inside the cavity to incubate the eggs and feeds him throughout the period. They strongly anthropomorphize by annotating the female behavior to be possessive. If she would let the male stay outside, he would fly away to another female and she would die inside. So she instead lets him take care of the chicks of the eggs, incubate the eggs when she would bring the food to him, because she is the one who is loyal to him. Once the chicks hatch, the male comes out with them. They have known this as they have been hunting these species for a long time and believe that the female returns to the same nesting tree the following year. This is a very interesting behavior because this could change a whole lot of things if true. And also it depends on when the Siddhis observe these birds and when they hunt them. The female is known to swallow several hundreds of fruit and vomits it out to the male, sometimes also feeding him with small birds. Next. The Siddhis also identify the bird by the sex of the bird by its beak color, and as they so they believe that the male has a reddish beak and is larger in size than the female, whereas the female has a dab pale yellow beak, which is true for identification. They hunt by both climbing on the trees and grabbing the nest, the hornbill from its nest, as well as by shooting it with guns if they have one. So once they have got the hornbill, they sometimes trees endemic to Western Ghats were noted to be the preferred nesting sites for these hornbills. Hornbills are also believed that they don't drink water as they have long beaks, which makes them incapable of drinking water, and they're also known as the harbinger of rain. Next. Can you go back, please, for a minute? So one other thing I noticed to tell you is that the Malabar grey and the great hornbill are seen nesting in the trees which are endemic to Western Ghats. And this shows that the relationship between the endemic trees and the dispersers themselves is so unique that they use them for nesting. And with the decline, and both these trees are endemic and threatened. So it is very essential to have these trees in the landscape. Next. There's a preliminary study which encompasses the importance of the ethno-ecological knowledge for bird conservation. A traditional knowledge could bridge the gap between understanding our natural sciences with ethnographical studies and bring about preservation of cultural knowledge as well as policy change. And this could greatly impact the traditional livelihoods of these people, because they have lost a lot of forest landscape over time. And if we have a community conserved program with inclusion of traditional as well as scientific knowledge, then one can play a major role in getting the population of these threatened endemic species, both the trees and the hornbills, back in the landscape. And this acts as a bridge to a bigger project which is in place. That's all. Thank you so much. Next, please. I would like to thank my professor, Dr. Andrew Goslar, and my field assistant, Imran, also Savita Uday for hosting me at the village, and the Kathleen Hughes Fund from Somerville College for the travel grant. Thank you so much.